is I have a little bit to finish up with you with InDesign, and then I'm going to try to introduce you to the wonderful world of Photoshop. And we'll learn a little bit more about that. I do not want to see what's new. Thank you. We'll go through a couple of these and see how they work. One of the things you can do with InDesign, and you can do it with Photoshop as well, and Illustrator too, is you can create layers. So, I'm going to have to ask you for tuition. Okay, then you need to say what you've got, close it, and go to a different computer lab, okay? Hey, Katie. Here you go. All right, the document contains 8 links. All right, remember we talked about the links, so you know not to worry too much about the links. And then it may tell me that it can't find the fonts, and that's okay. I don't care if it can't find the fonts. If I wanted it to try to find the fonts, I would click on this one, Find Font. But in this case, I can simply close it. So here's a poster for a fall kickoff, all right, for the TC program. And I will show you how it is layered and how you use layers. Right over here in on the panels on the right-hand side are layers. And you can see I have a whole bunch of layers. And the ones that are visible are the ones that have little eyes next to them. And I can get rid of these by toggling on that. And you will see things disappear as I do that, because each one of these elements is on a different layer. How do you like that? So, the background, I chose a background color, but there's a border. What I did was I filled it in, and now it bleeds. Now you can see that this actually has bleeds attached to it. All right, you can see it off the edge of the board there. Then, here's a solid leaf over here. And there you can see it. And this was simply a piece of clip art that I took. I changed a little bit in Photoshop. I added extra borders around it. And here I've got it bleeding off the bottom of the page. And you can see that the shape has been tilted. And the tilting is done with this tool up here. I can select this with the black arrow. And you'll see right up here, it's 24 degrees. And that was how I designed this thing. I fiddled with it, tried it at different angles, and this is what I decided I liked. Then I made a copy of that, and the way you make a copy here is you simply drag this bar down onto this one, create new layer, and it will copy whatever layer you're working on. So I will try to do that now. I will make a copy of the leaf and drag it right there, and I should get a new layer. All right, here it is, solid leaf copy. So I can move this one, and now I have 2. All right. If I don't like this layer, if I want to get rid of it, I can either get rid of it that way by toggling the visibility, or I can simply take the whole thing and drag it into the trash. Goodbye. It's gone. All right. I added another one slightly upside down in the corner. I sort of like the way that looked. Here's a big one I put in there, and then a larger one on the other side, and then the text. Now, the reason for putting the text in 2 layers here is that this is the main text, and you can see from the way that InDesign is handling it is that InDesign doesn't have that typeface. That's the problem. This version of InDesign doesn't have this typeface. It's on my computer, but it's not on this computer. The name of the typeface, if you're curious, I can simply take the type tool, click it on here, and it will tell me that it's called Bickham Script Pro. Now, I believe that we do have Bickham Script. I don't know if we have Bickham Script Pro, but I'll take a look and see if we have it. We have Bickham Script on this thing. Then you'll get to see more of the way it would really look. We do not. We don't have. We can use Brush Script. All right, it won't look as good, but you'll get the idea. I'm just using any old script font. And then for this technical communications, I use something called Hefler text, which also goes with an ornamental typeface. And I'm going to replace that with, what have I got here? Britannic. All right? And these letters you can probably see, I don't know if you can, maybe I should zoom in. I'll zoom in. If you look at these characters, whoops, that went in a little bit too close. That went into 4,000%. You don't really need 4,000. 400 will do. So each of these characters has a fill and a stroke. And you could do that for any character that you use in InDesign. If you come over here to swatches, and you will see that there's the T. So the T only controls the text. If I went to this box over here, that would control the entire object, the whole text box. And here you can see that for the color, the fill color, I've selected, which one? This one down here. And then the other one, this is the stroke. And when you mouse over, it'll tell you what it is. So this is the stroke, and the one in the back is the fill. So the stroke is black. And I can change that if I want. Okay? So that's how you can control the stroke and the fill of individual characters. We'll go out now, back to something where you can see. We'll just, why don't we just go to fit page and window. Right? And the next reason for having this in layers is that this layer has a date from 2009. Now I could either change the whole thing if I want, or I could simply get rid of this layer, or excuse me, wrong layer. Get rid of this layer and replace it with a whole new layer. And I don't have to change anything else. I can use the same poster year after year after year. All right? So that's the deal with layers. And that's how you can use them in InDesign. Questions? Okay, let's go. What's next? No, I do not want to save changes. File. Open. Okay. I need to go back. Go back all the way to the beginning. I'm going to reopen the trifold brochure that I was working with on Tuesday because I want to show you the other versions. This is what you need to know to complete the homework assignment. Once again, it's going to tell me that it's got links that are missing. All right, and it's got 3 typefaces that it can't find. For some reason or other, it can't find Times Bold or Times or Zafting Bats. All right, I don't really care. It's not important. So I'm going to view it again. I'll put the whole spread in the window so you can see what it looks like. All right. And I showed you the original. I'm going to actually zoom out even more. I'm going to go down to 25. This is a lot smaller screen than I'm used to using. Okay. And let's see which we'll do first. We'll do the 4-color one first. Okay. So this is what you would use if you were going to be doing this thing in 4-color. And I've got my text over here. And on the front cover, I'm going to put, well, the name of the company, right? And I've got some basic information about how to get a hold of us. So I'll just hit Edit, Copy, and then I will put a text box. I'm just going to put it right here in the middle. Not exactly sure how I'm going to divide it up yet. And Edit, and I can paste. All right? So here's my text, and I showed you this last time. Let's find a typeface that we like and we can use for this, something that will be useful and helpful. This thing keeps going all the way down to the bottom for some reason. Let's see, something we can use for head. Oh, they got rid of Optima. How nice. All right, we'll use Myriad. Myriad is an Adobe typeface, and you have a lot of different options. It's a pro face, which means you've got many, many different options here. I'll go to paragraph, and I'll center it, and then I'll go back to type size, and I don't really want 12 anything. Let's start at 18 and see what happens when we go from there. Okay. So I've got these phone number things. I'd like to get those on a single line. Those are going to have to be smaller. So I can shrink the individual characters over here using this tool, or I can come over under Window, and under Type and Tables I can open up the character menu. And the character menu, I'll put it over to the side. This will control the type that I've selected. I can change from metric to optical. I can change the type size. I can tighten it up. Here I'm down to -20. All right, and then I showed you all the stretchy things that you really shouldn't use too much. If bold doesn't do it for you, in this particular typeface we have semi-bold, which might be okay. All right. This I'd like to have it set fat if I can, but you'll see over here on the side there's no paragraph. So again, I come under Window, Type and Tables, and here's Paragraph. So now I can change the paragraph. And I'll pull that over to the side so it doesn't get in the way. So I've got it centered, right? And that gives me all the different options. If I wanted to make it flush left, here it's centered. Under here I can turn on, for example, let's say I want to turn on hyphenation. I can turn it on using this options button in Paragraph. So there are a lot of different tools that you have available to you. I really don't have time to show you all of them. But here it is centered, and I can squeeze it down 10, 20, 30, 40, whoops, that's too small. Don't go that far. If you really have this problem, you probably should go, let's go to optical, because that'll look better, and then we'll have to shrink the type. There really is no other way to get it to sit fat. I can try Justified and see how the computer handles it. It doesn't do a lot different. All right, are you able to see what I'm doing? Okay, is that clear? So I'm going to come over here, and as I did yesterday, I grabbed hold of the logo, and I'll move it over. So it's going to be on our front panel. And I'm not really going to use for bleeds. Well, it's full color. Okay, our customer is going to pay for bleeds. All right, that's fine. So I can come over here. I can change the width. I want to change the width and the height, so make sure the link is clicked. And the width, I think, of the first panel over here is 23, if I remember correctly. Oops, I forgot to do something. I wanted this to be the anchor point, the top right corner. So I got to select the anchor point over here. Now I can change the width to 23, and it should fit. And then to get it to fit within here, I can click on. Oh, this one doesn't have the. I have to remember on this one it doesn't have it. Okay, fitting, fill, frame proportionately. And now my logo is in the corner. But look what happens when I get rid of everything else. Uh-oh, that's not good. So what I need to do is I need to change this text box. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this corner over here, and I'm going to pull it out. Oh, that's too much. I want it to go out just to the fold line. We'll take it right out to the fold line. I think it'll be okay. There we go. But now you see the bleed, and again I have to do object, fitting, fit, fill frame proportionately, and again if I go back and look at how it looks, now you can see that it's bleeding, but that's not going to work. So what I'll need to do is I need to go over here under text frame options, which is fitting frame options. It's got to be the same thing, right? All right, fitting frame options. I don't want to crop. That's the wrong tool. Where's the right tool? Object, transform. Here, text frame options. Oh, well, let me use that one. All right. Okay, I don't know why it won't let me use that one, but it won't. So I'll have to fit it manually. All right. Sometimes that's tricky. I'm going to go right from the center now because I want it to shrink from the center. Okay, I think that's And again, I have to go back to fitting, fill frame proportionately, and there's my logo right there. Now, I can do other things with this front panel. For example, I can fill it, go here under swatches, and I can fill it with a color if I choose. I've got this orange color. If I'm not crazy about the tint, the darkness of it, I can lighten it up. Now, if you do tints and you use tints in a text box, usually anything darker than 15% is going to be too hard to see the text. So don't go higher than 15%. You'll have to print out a proof anyway. I know you're going to look at it and you're going to say, oh, what is this now? 23%. That's really light. I can see it just fine. Trust me, when you try to print it out, it's not going to work nearly as well. So I'm actually going to take this down to 15. It's going to be a lot lighter. Now I can come up here under Object, Text Frame Options, and I can change the way the text fits inside of this box. So for example, if I decide that I want to increase the inset spacing, I can do that. If I want to change the alignment, let's say I want it to be centered inside the box, I can click Preview and it'll center it inside the box for me. See how it's crashing into the edges over there? That's not good, right? So again, Object, Text Frame Options, I'm going to have some inset spacing. I'll probably go with about half a pica, 6 points. Okay? And now it looks a little bit better. But you can see here, can you see the lines? I'll zoom in a little bit, and you can see that this inner pink line and there's an outer pink line. The inner pink line is the margin for the text. The outer pink line is the margin for the color. I can actually take this whole thing if I wanted to, and because I have a bleed line here, I can take this up to the very top of the page. I can pull it out to the bleed line on the side of the page. I can move it right over to the fold line there if I choose. Let's see if I can go down a little bit. I can take it right down to the bleed line. So my first panel is going to look something like this. Uh-oh, you said, what happened to that logo? It's missing. You're right. So I have to go Object, Arrange, and now I'm going to send this filled panel to the back. And there's the logo. Let's see what happens if I try to fill the logo. Can I fill the logo with a color? Will it let me do that? No, it won't let me do it because it's not transparent. I'll have to make it transparent. Would you like to see me make it transparent? You're eager to see me do this. Okay, I can't promise you it'll work. It doesn't always do what it's supposed to do, but I will do my very best. I'm going to go over here under Object, and right down here I've got something called clipping path. Okay? Clipping path. And clipping path is exactly what you think it is. It's imagine somebody taking a pair of scissors and clipping around something. So I'm going to go over here in clipping path, and I'm going to ask the computer to give me some options. And can you watch the logo up there? Watch what happens as I choose these things. Okay, so the default is none. And I'm going to go Detect Edges. And let's see if that works. Did it detect the edges? Did you see what happened? Okay, I'll unclick the preview in case you missed it. This is it with a white background, and now I've detected the edges, and InDesign knows that I want it to be transparent. Or fill it with a color. Actually, I filled it with a color. I can make it transparent too. Okay. The threshold, if you move this threshold bar back and forth, you see how many of these blue dots are up here? The blue dots are what's used by vector graphics to create the shapes. So I can have more dots or fewer dots. By moving this threshold thing back and forth, I'll have fewer dots or more dots. The more dots you have, the smoother the curve, but the more complicated the image is going to be. And let's see if this is actually going to work for me. We'll just click OK. And then I'll go back to my swatches where I had my fill of this thing. And wait, I have to go back here. Select it like this, and now it says it's filled with that, but let's try no fill, and let's see what happens. And ta-da! Isn't that amazing? You agree that that's amazing? Oh, it's going to get much better. We move into Photoshop. I'll show you how to do it with people. You can cut out a person's face. It's incredible. It's so incredible you're going to need sugar. You especially. Yes. All right. So now I'm going to open up my brochure. Inside my brochure I'm going to have nothing. I got to have some kind of text in here. Let's view the spread again. Here's the spread in the window. And you can see my first panel. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab some body text because I need to show you that, and then we need to move on. All right? So, let's see. I'll start over here, and I'm going to select all the rest of the body text. Everything else is going to go inside the brochure. How about that? You probably shouldn't do this in real life, but for this example, it's okay. I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to go over here to the first panel. This is the inside panel. All right. I'm going to move the swatches out of the way. And I'm going to take my, I've got the T cursor selected. I'm going to move the type tool right up here to the top corner where I know I'm going to have a type box. And I'm going to come over here, and it fits. And then I'm going to click Edit, Paste. And there's the text in the first text box. Okay? We already know that this particular typeface is not going to work because we have a pretty good sense of that. So we'll switch to something that will. It doesn't like Tahoma either? How could it not? How could you not like Tahoma? It thinks it's Times. Okay, I got an idea. Hold on a second. If this happens to you, if you get stuck and you can't seem to change the typeface, all right, this is what you need to do. It may be that a style has been applied to this typeface and you didn't even know it. That's certainly something that's absolutely possible to happen. So I can come over here. What I'll need to do is I'll need to go into Window again, and this time I'm going to go look at the styles. And I think I told you that the styles are a way of creating a template. So if all my heads are going to be Tahoma 14 bold, all I have to do is click the style and just make them all that. But I'll open up the styles. I'm going to open up paragraph styles, and you'll see there are no paragraph styles here. Actually, there is a paragraph style 1. How do you like that? Okay. And then what happens? Clear overrides. And then I've got character styles. And I've got none. All right. So let's take a look at what paragraph style 1 is. Paragraph style 1 seems to be times, and you see it's in brackets, which means the poor stupid computer can't find it. So we'll go with something. How about Garamond? I know you all love Garamond, right? So we'll use Garamond, and we'll use regular, and we'll make it 12. You like it with a little extra leading? 12 and 15? What do you think? We'll try that. We'll go to optical, take the tracking down 20, right? Open type features, yes, we want titling, swash, discretionary ligatures, absolutely. What else we got? Set 1, set 2, sure, we'll take all the sets we can get. Okay. And here's our new type style now. It's called paragraph 1. And this is all paragraph 1, and it all fits. The problem, of course, is these bullets. For some reason or other, the computer thinks that paragraph 1 has bullets. I don't want bullets, so I'm going to tell it. I'll go back under paragraph style, no bullets, and now we're okay. Everything fits. Okay? So, we've got the head up here, and what do we choose for heads? What do we like for heads in this thing? Did we use myriad? Okay. Actually, these three things up here could all be myriad, and they could all be a bullet list if I want to. There are two ways to make this a bullet list. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new paragraph style. So I'm right here under paragraph styles, and I click, and I've got a new style, and it's called style 2. I'm going to give it a name, because otherwise I'm going to forget what it is. This is the myriad head, just so I remember. And we're going to give it a bullet, and we'll turn the bullet list type on. You can either have bullets or numbers, either way. The computer doesn't care, one or the other. If you want bullets, it gives you a bunch of choices. We can add bullets if we want. It's going to start with the bullets that are available in Myriad Pro, because that's the typeface that we're using. Fortunately, Myriad Pro has a lot of different characters, but very few of them that are really suitable for bullets that I can see. What should we use? I guess we'll just use a plain old bullet. How boring is that? Alright, but we'll make it bold. Okay, so we'll add that one, make it okay. There's our new bullet. And that should be okay then. So our type style here, now we have these, but we have these bullets. Look at the distance. Uh-oh, something's not right. Look at the distance between the bullets and the text. I need to come up here under Type, Tabs, and this will open up a tabs bar. And I can set this up right on the top here. And if I click on the magnet, this tabs bar will apply to the text that's selected. So anything I do up here will apply to the text that I've selected. So I can move it over. I can move this over a little bit if I want. I can move that. Nice bullet list. Tighter? What do you think? Maybe a little tighter? Too tight. Whoops. And if I wanted to, I could set them up here very precisely. So that this is a hanging indent minus 0 pica 10. I can simply make it minus 1 if I want. 1 pica, minus 1 pica. Okay? And that's what it'll look like. And there you go. There's my bullet list. Now the rest of the body text over here, it's up to you. You decide how you want it to look. You can use indents if you want. If you're creating a new style, you can do that. So for example, our first line of text here is paragraph style 1, and it's flush left. The next one we want to indent. So we're going to create a new style. We'll call it style 2. And in this style, we'll go here under indents and spacing, and we will indent the first line of text. If you want to watch it happening as you do it, click on Preview, and first line indent, and you can see the first line's moving over. And because my columns are very narrow, I'm not going to go with a really deep indent. I'm probably just going to keep it one pica is good enough. Okay? And there you go. And then I can apply this to all the other paragraphs that I want to have indented. And let's say, for example, that I print this out and I really, really hate it and I don't like the way it looks because I really don't like this, what am I using, Garamond? I can come over here under paragraph style and I can change the typeface to something else. And that'll change all of them. Alright, that's what the styles is all about. Okay. The other thing that I can do is if I don't like this particular typeface, I can come over here and I can change it to something Book Antiqua. Alright? And I like the way this looks, so I can come over here and don't click on any of these things, but come up to the top to the option button and tell the computer that you want to redefine the style based on what you've just changed. And boom, now it changed everything to Book Antiqua. Not only paragraph style 1, but paragraph style 2, because 2 is based on 1. All right, did you all see how I did that? All right. If the line spacing doesn't, once I've changed the typeface, now the line spacing doesn't look right to me for some bizarre reason, so I've changed it to 12:16. All right. And again, if I want to do this for this, I simply click on the first paragraph up here. Same deal. Redefine that style. It'll define 1 and 2. It'll do them all the same. Okay. So this is what you would do if you're doing it in color. I just have a couple of pictures I can pull over here for you. The screen is so small compared to my office. If you've been to my office, you know that I use a huge screen in there. So I can pull my little guy over here. I could actually have him bleed off the page. Pull this corner down, down, down. Down, 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 right there. And then object fit frame proportionally. And that's her. And this is what it would look like. I can click over here and show you what it would look like. I'm going to dock these things over on the side here so they're not sticking out. But they're right there if I need them. Okay? And now you can see, I'll pull back view, spread in the window, and you can see how I did this. And there's going to be more text over here. How do I know? Because I've got this little red cross. And in this case, I'm going to have the text run right across these two columns. Okay? I can do that. If I want to try something different, I can come over here. Where am I? I can go to the paragraph one over here, and I could tell the computer, try two columns and see what happens. Or 3 columns. Uh-oh, no good. 2 columns will do it. Oops, that's 4. Go down. Down. Good boy. Okay. And there I've got my text. All right. And because this is color, you can do. There's so many different things you can do with it. You can change the way the design looks in many different ways. I got some other stuff that you can put in here. Here's a scooper that could go into one of these columns. Here's another logo that could fit down in over here. And you know, you can do a pretty good job of filling up a brochure without too much copy. Okay? Don't be afraid of white space. You have nothing to be afraid of. White space won't hurt you. Okay? Last thing I'll show you before I move on to the very next one, which is going to involve the color, is this over here. These 2 lines here with the phone numbers. All right? I'm not crazy about having them right under locally owned. I think there needs to be more space before them. So I'll take the top one, I'll click on it, and right over here I can add space at the top. And remember I had the centered alignment, centered in the column alignment, so everything's going to move when I do this, which is okay. It doesn't look too bad. All right. Now I've got these 2 down at the bottom, and these 2 were centered. Remember they were centered? But I'm not terribly happy with the way that looks. I'm going to do my own sense of centering them the way I want them to look. And the way you do that is by moving the margins left and right. So I'll start by moving the left margin. I'll move it 2 picas. And then I'm going to move the right margin 2 picas. That's too much. Now it's centered, but it's centered the way I want it to be centered, which is actually flush left. All right? So let's move on to the next one, which is, this is the black and white version. And what you have to do here is that you're going to have to use Photoshop to convert all of these things to black and white. And I'll show you that in about 4 minutes. Okay? But what you want to do is you want to make sure that each of these things that you use is in fact in black and white. Otherwise it's not going to work terribly well. This one is called monochrome. Alright? And monochrome is, we talked about using a duotone, right? Did I talk about this at all? I didn't do duotones. I got to do duotones with you. Okay. You have a black plate and then you have a spot color plate. And you can combine them. With a monochrome, you get rid of the black plate and you just print everything in the one color. So here I've used the brown and everything will be printed in the brown. So I'll show you the doggy and what happens when we try to wrap text around the dog. We'll see if this will work. One never knows with these things. Big dog. Fitting, fit frame proportionately, okay. And then we're going to go under Object and under Clipping Path and under Options, and we're going to say we want to detect the edges. You see the edges? They're detected. All right. We do not want to include the inside edges. Unfortunately, this picture is going to do that. Let's see if it happens if I change the tolerance. Does that help? No, that doesn't help. All right, we'll just leave it the way it is. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab my text. And just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to take all of this text and I'm going to make it paragraph style 1 because it's just simpler to do it that way. And I'm going to take my text and I'm going to move it over. And nothing is going to happen. Nothing, I guarantee you, nothing will happen. The text is just going to sit there on top of the picture of Bowser until I do this. I come over the picture of Bowser. And there's a window I can pull down. And the window is called text wrap. And text wrap shall rule them all. Okay? This is no text wrap. This one is square. You see the red square that surrounds the picture? It would simply wrap it around that, and that's what it looks like. Can you see it? Okay. If there were a key line around this, I would have problems because it would be crashing into the key line. There's no key line. But here's the magic button, folks. This is wrap around object shape. You ready for this? Okay, good boy, Bowser. All right, but now you see I've got a little problem because Bowser's head is blocking some of the text. Is that better? A little bit better. You can play with these things and you can get it. There's a way to do it. Here's same as clipping. Does that do it? No. We'll do it with detect edges. All right? And then to move the text so that it doesn't crash into my poor little dog's face, you can move it away like that, and it'll wrap beautifully. You decide how much. You get to decide how much room you need around the image. Questions? Sir?
You modify the shape of that down with the white arrow?
Yeah, you can. What's your life expectancy? How long did your grandparents live? 95. Okay, yeah, you got plenty of time to do that. Yeah.
Is that how you get it to be not between his legs?
Yeah, I'll show you. All right. I don't usually reach between my dog's legs. It's not a place that I'm really comfortable hanging out. But and for you, and only for you, you see all these little dots in here? I can grab some of these dots and pull them down. I don't have to grab all of them. I just have to grab enough so that there's no room for text in here. You guys, you can start studying for your finals now. It's going to take a while. All right, we're getting there. Look at all the dots. I see what I would have to do is go in here under the pen tool, and you see pen minus. And if I just pen minus all of these things, come on, do it. Why aren't you doing it? Come on, pen minus me. How do I do? Close enough? At that point, you stop. Okay. All right. So that was what I was going to show you with that. And then I think I really do need to get into Photoshop today. So let me just make sure that I didn't miss something important here. I'm going to have to go through all of these things. All right. Number 1, converting color so that it's actually usable means if you're going to talk to a printer, you got to talk PMS colors. You should have this in your student handbook. So I can go through this thing quickly, I hope. One always hopes. How were the donuts? Were they okay? Yeah? I was worried. I really was. All right. So this is the procedure. You have this in your handbook, so I shouldn't have to spend a lot of time on it. This is Raylan last year when she was 2. All right? We were raking leaves outside the house, and my wife snapped a picture. What happened was Raylan saw the man coming with the truck to collect the leaves, and she started pulling them back up on the terrace. She didn't want anybody taking Grandpa's leaves. It was adorable. Anyway, we'll open the image in Photoshop. We'll make sure that it's CMYK. That's what we have to do. Look what we're going to have to do here. Can you see how this picture was saved? It's an RGB. I got to convert it to CMYK. Right? And then we can open up the color panel. If you want to be a hotshot, press F6. Otherwise, just go under Windows Color Panel. And there it is. Click the eyedropper tool. Remember the eyedropper tool right over here? Clickety click click. And then click the image that you want to convert to Pantone. So here I selected Raylan's coat, and I clicked on it, and Photoshop changes this to pink, and in the color window, in the color panel, this will show up. This is what the little icon for the color panel looks like, an artist palette. This is swatches, this is the color palette. And you could see that if I were actually doing this with 4-color process, it would use 21% cyan, 90% magenta, 17% yellow, and no black at all. And I could mix this up in a big vat, and I'd have the same pink that Raylan's wearing. All right, now, you click on the foreground square, and that'll open up a window called the Color Picker. This is it. It is the Color Picker. All right. Over here, you'll find Color Libraries, and you can open this up. And here's the magic, folks. If you click the Book drop-down menu, Book, see Book, Pantone Solid Coated, or uncoated. It seems that with these newer versions of InDesign and Photoshop, coated looks better and more real to me, but you'll have to decide. It's your call. And then Photoshop will tell you this is what we think that color is. This is what's closest. Okay? And they're going to call it Pantone 675. You call it Pantone 675, close enough. You don't have to be a maniac for me. Okay? You click on the picker, the little button over there, and then you can add to swatches, and there it is. Give it a name. I called it Pink Coat. Very original name. And there it is. It's in the swatches. So what I did was I created a border around the whole picture, a key line that matches the girl's coat. Ta-da! That's it. That's the end. She's going to love it next week when I bring her over to pick up the leaves. She'll have a blast. Okay. Duotones. I got a handout for you. Two-page handout. Much too lazy to bother to staple it. Wait, what's the one at the end? Let's go back here. Okay. Did somebody not get the LinkedIn profile pic? Okay. Yeah, this is how to update your LinkedIn profile. Okay. So we'll work from this thing. We'll do the duotones, and I'll show you how this thing works. Tell me the computer isn't having trouble finding PowerPoint, please. Oh, look at the size of the file. Ah, no wonder. Can you see how big that is? You think Professor Zwickel went a little overboard with the pictures? Yeah. Okay. Well, it happens. All right, here we go. It's not a complicated process, but you do have to pay attention. Okay? So did everybody get everybody has the handout? All right, here we go. We're just going to take black plus a spot color, and we'll create a duotone. The advantage of this is, first of all, you can get something very artistic, but if you're looking at people, look, most of us have skin that is some shade of brown. It's orange, very, very light, orange, very, very dark. This is the skin that God gave us, and we're all, believe it or not, very much, there isn't that huge range of human skin colors. So if you combine black with orange, you may very well wind up with something that's going to look very natural looking. So here's a picture of my nephew and his wife and their little baby son, daughter, excuse me, that's Eliana. I opened it up in Photoshop, and then I went into the image menu, and I'm going to show you all of this. We'll be opening up Photoshop in about 4 minutes. And the first thing I did was I click over here under grayscale. Now, if I'm going to be printing it on paper, I would click on this one. If I'm using it on the screen, I'd click this one. All right? But you have to start with grayscale. So I clicked on grayscale, and that's going to convert it to black and white. And there's nothing wrong with this picture except that it's not usable because there isn't enough contrast. There are a lot of shades right in the middle, a lot of shades of gray that are right in the middle, and there's no bright white and there's no dark black. So I'm going to need to do some work after I desaturate it. And now I've adjusted the contrast, and now you can see it looks a heck of a lot better. Now, we're going to go back under image mode, and this time we're going to click on Duotone. And this time, Photoshop is going to ask us what we want to do. It'll say, well, of course you want black because you clicked on Duotone. Now, there are other things under here. Okay, I didn't pull down the menu for you, but we can do this when we get to Photoshop. So it says, yes, you want black, and the second color, we don't know what you want. So you're going to have to tell us. So give a click, and let's see what happens. I have choices. And in this case, I picked an orange color, Pantone 721. And now my two colors are going to be black and 721. Now, you'll get to see, if you have the preview button selected, you will see, here's the preview button. Yeah, you will see the image change on the screen, and then you can decide if you like it the way it is or if it needs adjusting. You can use these curves to adjust it. The original curve is 1 for 1. Why am I telling you this? You're engineers. You know exactly what. All right. If you change this to more of a kind of a backwards S curve, it may look better, but you'll have to fiddle with it. If you take the cursor and you grab anywhere on the line, you'll see changes happening. All right? And what you're really going to do is you're going to change the proportions of orange and black so that you get a better mixture of the colors. All right? So here's my Duotone. And you'll notice that they actually start to look like real people. There was an old process that was used many, many years ago before we had full color that was called sepia tone. Have you heard of this? Sepia tone? Yeah. And again, the idea was that you didn't have color, but we could pull up a brown, and most people would look at it and say, oh, yeah, well, that looks like enough like human skin color. All right? I cropped the picture, and because it wasn't interesting the other way. And in this particular case, if you know anything about the rule of thirds, you'll see that I managed to get both of their beautiful noses right on the rule of thirds. You can't see the baby's face anyway, so who cares? All right. And then I went back one more time and adjusted the brightness and contrast, and there's my Duotone. Last summer, we had a Civil War reenactment here on campus. They dedicated a new monument. I went over there with my camera, and I took a picture of all these reenactors. Now, during the Civil War, they didn't have color. The whole world was black and white. A lot of people don't know this. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln's hair was black and his face was white. People don't know any of this stuff. All right, so I desaturate and I get something that looks like that, and it looks like, you know. But if you turn it into a Duotone, you get something that looks a lot nicer. This looked a lot better in Photoshop than it does in PowerPoint. All right, so that's the end of that one. What's next? Okay. Converting to black and white. I think I better open up PowerPoint before I... Not PowerPoint, Photoshop, excuse me. All right. All right. So we're going to talk about making photos printable. We're going to talk about making them printable in 3 different contexts. We're going to talk about printing them in black and white in a brochure, a flyer or something. We'll talk about printing them in color, which is a lot more fun. And then we'll talk about what you have to do if you want to use them on a website or on a computer screen, because they're going to be different things. And you should be aware of the fact that they are going to be quite different. Oh, good. Here's Photoshop opened up for me. All right. So when you convert, you have everything in Photoshop is duplicated. There are just 150 ways to do the same thing. This was a very deliberate decision that Adobe made. It figured people want features, we'll give them features. So we have 17 different ways to go from color to black and white. And they're all very similar. So here I took a color photo. This is the same little girl you saw in the other picture who was a baby then. So now she's older and she's on the boardwalk. And thank goodness her parents dress her in very colorful clothes because it's perfect for this demonstration. So here's Eliana. Here's the original photo. In the second photo, I simply went and did that grayscale thing that I showed you before. And that's the way it looks. The next one over, I went to Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and desaturated it. In the third one, in the next one, D, this one over here, I used the adjustments to go to black and white. And then over here for E, adjustments, there's a desaturate button. And then I took, I think, one of them, I think it may have been this one, and then I tried to crank up the contrast to make it suitable for printing. But it's a tricky, you know, this is all very much based upon your own impressions of what looks good. So I'll take you through these four. You don't need to know all 500 ways of making things grayscale. What I'd like you to have is if you try one way and it doesn't look good, there should be another option for you. So the first one and the easiest one is grayscale under mode, and you'll get this warning. It's going to yell at you. All right? If you discard the color information, you may lose it forever. And you can, decide at that point what you want to do. If you do it this way, you convert to black and white, and the next thing you have to do this, is you have to adjust the brightness and the contrast. Okay? If you click Use Legacy, everything goes back to 0. I don't know why they don't call it reset, but that's what they do. You click Preview, and then you can see what's actually happening up there, and you can move the sliders back and forth. And this is one way of making the image look as contrasty as you can for printing in black and white. So here I took a color photo, just converted it to black and white, and you can see it's all muddy. It doesn't look very good at all. I'm going to have to work on these contrast problems. All right. So number 2, desaturate. Okay, same menu, image adjustments. It's just one little button. If you want to remember the keystrokes, it's up to you. I don't care. All right. So here's the photo. Group of us in China, and clickety click. There we go. All the colors gone. It's in black and white. That's referred to as continuous tone. It's not a halftone. Halftone means that it's made up of dots. This picture is not made up of dots. It's made up of much smaller pixels and grains of color. And you can't use it until you adjust the contrast, which is not hard to do. Process number 3. Very simple button. I'm not sure what I want to do. What if I click on black and white? And there you go. All right. You'll get a bunch of sliders. This is kind of cool. You'll get a bunch of sliders, and you can decide. Now, normally speaking, when you desaturate an image, black is going to stay black. Okay. Red is going to go to black. Light blue is going to go to white. Green is going to get lighter. Dark red is going to get black. Bright red is going to get black. So you may have to adjust these colors to get it to look, and it'll give you a whole bunch of slider bars, and you can try auto and see what the computer thinks. Or you can move the slider bars yourself. If you want, for example, let's say somebody's got a red shirt on and it turns completely black, you might want to lighten it up, make it more of a medium gray so that you can actually see the shirt better. That's why you do these things. Is it clear what I'm trying to explain to you? All right. The Properties panel will show up. You go under Windows Property Black and White. You'll get this thing. Here are the sliders. Same set of sliders. All right. Same as Image Adjustments, Black and White. Over on the side, you'll have something called the Adjustments panel. And if you click on this thing, see black, white? Yeah, that's what it'll do. All right, these others, I bet you don't know what the others are. No, but I see. I show you the ones that are important. Some of these are just, I don't know. What can I say? They're there if you want them. All right. It'll open up a new layer for you. Okay, and that's the difference. So you can move the sliders. This is what the picture looks like in color. This is what happens after you click on the black and white thing. And then you can move these sliders back and forth. All right. Presets. At the very top, let me show you. Let's go back for a second. Over here, you see where it says presets? If you're really, really lazy, you can click on this thing and you can pull. This is the equivalent of putting a filter over the camera lens when you take a photograph. All right? If any of you are familiar with various kinds of photography, you know, for example, if you need more contrast in a black and white picture, you use a yellow filter. All right? And these others will do other things. You can try them out. It's not permanent. If you don't like it, you can just click cancel. It's not a permanent change. You can always go back if you have to. All right? And then finally, there's hue saturation. And you can use hue saturation to desaturate. You come over here where it says saturation, and it even shows you that it goes from the full hue to gray. And you move this slider bar, blah, 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 and the thing will change, and you can decide if you like it again, like it or not. It's up to you. When you do this, you may decide you want to make it brighter. Hue will change the overall color of the image. And this is one way. There are several different ways of compensating for the mistake that you made by not setting the white balance correctly. So you went into a room that was lit with halogen lights, and you tried to take a picture and everything turned yellow. So what you can do is you can try moving. You see yellow's over here, so you should probably go the other way. And see what happens. All right? So I took saturation down to -100. It's still too dark. I need to move lightness a little bit. This, by the way, this is Bogey. This is the guy who's got cancer. All right? So did you see what happened? I'll do it again. Here it is. Whoops. Okay? Looks a little bit better that way. All right, some problems. When you convert from color to grayscale, first, there may be more graininess. All right? You're going from having 4 different colors, because that's what your sensors do in the camera. They do the same thing. You're going from having 4 different colors to having 1. Black. Or less black. All right? So you might wind up with graininess. Contrast is definitely going to change. A good contrasty picture in color is not going to look good in black and white. So you need to make the blacks blacker and the whites whiter. And then you may find that small areas are going to be too dark or too light, and you may have to dodge or burn those in. I'll tell you what that means when we get there. Okay? So the graininess, it's a continuous tone image. I'm going to skip this part. I'm going to go straight to Photoshop and start showing you some work, some things that go on in Photoshop. Okay, I need to open computer. Okay, where shall we start here? No, I needed a picture that I can edit. Where are my pictures for editing? But they're under Photoshop. That's where they are. Okay. All right. Okay. This is Natasha. Natasha's mother is Nadia. And Natasha grew up in Kiev, and she was just a very small child when the nuclear plant at Chernobyl blew up. And I think that she's very lucky that she doesn't have cancer. That's what I think. But I don't know how much you know about Russians. This is very typical. All right? Yes, a beautiful woman in a beautiful dress standing in front of a lawn that hasn't been mowed since Stalin's time. Okay? All right. So let me show you some of the things that are here and that you can work with. So we'll come over here. Again, I'm going to switch it to the double column because that's easier for me. And I'll show you what some of the things that you can do here. Probably the place I start most frequently is here. Let's get rid of this stuff over to the side. Under Image, Adjustment. All right, this is where all the different adjustments that I need are to fix this particular picture. I'm going to start by taking it, if I'm going to be printing it, I want to go to CMY Color, and I can do that. And it's going to tell me that it may change the colors in the image. It won't, but it's going to tell me that it will. And I'm not going to save it anyway. Did you see any difference? No. And you probably won't. You probably won't. I'm going to zoom in a little bit over here. All right. Let's take a look and see what happens when I change it to grayscale. Oh, discard color information. Yes, it's all gone. Okay. Now, what you look at here when you look at her face is that she doesn't really, there's not a lot of contrast. Okay. There's a shadow. There's shadows caused by her hair. Shadows over here. It's a very low contrast picture. I need to crank up that contrast. I can start by going here under Levels, and because all I have is black, it's going to be very simple for me to do this. I need to make sure that the light colors are very, very light and the dark colors are very dark. I can kick this over. I can kick this over. Oh, that's too dark. I'm losing a lot that way. And I can get enough contrast to print this picture in black and white simply by moving the sliders back and forth. All right, so we'll cancel out of that. I'll show you another thing that you can do. We'll go under Adjustments. This is called Shadows and Highlights. Now, I guess first, before I do that, I should do this one. Brightness and Contrast. All right, these sliders here, when you move these back and forth, they change the entire image. So if I move brightness over to the right, the whole image is going to get brighter, not just parts. If I move it to the left, the whole image will get darker. All right? The same with contrast. If I move it over here, everything gets more contrasty. All right? So you see how that works? Now, the difference over here is that under Image Adjustments, Shadow and Highlights, it's going to pick out the dark areas and the lighter areas. Wait a second. Let's cancel that. You need to see the whole picture now. All right, now you can see the whole picture. Image Adjustments, Shadows and Highlights. Okay. So I'll turn off Preview, and I'll turn on Preview. You see the difference? Can you see what Photoshop is doing for me here? Now, if I add this one, it gives me a lot more choices. And I always work with it with a full panel of sliders because I've been doing this a long time. And the defaults, it's automatically going to crank up the shadows. So watch what happens when I move this bar over. Can you see any changes happening? Wait, I don't have the preview thing. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. So what this is going to do is going to lighten up the shadows, and I like that. This one is going to darken the dark areas, and I can move it like that. I can also play with these. If you go too far, it's going to look like a cartoon. It's not going to look real. It's even worse in color. So don't go too far. All right, a little bit goes a long way. You'll get a lot more contrast this way. You can also increase mid-tone contrast if you want. If you just need a little dip there. And this one will increase overall brightness if you think the whole picture is too dark. All right? So that's how that one works. If you goof, if you make a mistake, and you're working in Photoshop, this little button up here, you see there's got step, 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 and then it's got an arrow going back. That allows you to go, this is time travel. I can go back to when this was a color photo. I can go back to when this was an RGB photo, if I want to. Just by going back in time, clicking on this thing. All right? Let's see, image. Let's see, what did I do? Mode. How am I doing on time? Okay, I'm going to go with grayscale. Okay, and then let's try duotone. Image mode, duotone. So there's black. And the first choice is monotone. Then you can go to it, duotone, tritone, quadtone. If you're going to go with 4 colors, guess what? You might as well go with cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, right? But we're just going to go with duotone, and we'll pick a second color. And let's see. I can't see the picture too well there. All I can see is her legs. A little brighter. All right, we'll pick this color. We'll pick this one. And we're just going to call this orange because I'm not that creative. All right. So here's my duotone. Now I can move it over, and now you can see what that looks like. If I want to play with the histogram, with the curves, I can try moving it up a little bit, bring that part down. Okay. You should probably get the shadows and highlights fixed before you do the duotone. Okay. So you saw how I did that? Back in time, back in space. Image, mode, grayscale, okay. Image, mode, duotone. Only this time I'm going to say I want to do monotone, but I don't want it to be black. I'm going to make her all reddish. I can do that. I can also go to my libraries if I want. All right, if I'm looking for Bucky Badger Red, I can find it in here somewhere. Here. All right, go Bucky. Here she is. Okay. And now, obviously, that's not usable the way it is. I have to go over here under Image, and I'll probably work from levels. And if I'm happy with it, I can stay with it. Otherwise, I can cancel out image adjustments, go back to shadows and highlights. I might like that better. Okay. But you can pick any color and print in that color if you want. So that was what I did with the picture of the dog. That's how I made the picture of the dog. Now, once you've chosen this color, all right, let's go to my swatches menu. Once I've chosen this particular color, for my swatches, this one here, if I'm going to be doing everything with that spot color, I'm going to have to go under the libraries, and it's going to have a name, and I have to make sure that I know where it is in the swatches. Under swatches, I can show small list, and here you can see this is a whole bunch of colors that they stuck in there for some reason. And where is my 200 that I just added? Didn't I just add 200? Did you see me add 200? Did I not hit add? What?
I don't think you added it.
You think I forgot to add it? Oh, okay. All right. I'll add it. Add to swatches. So, where'd it go? Should be in here.
You added black
I added black?
on the bottom. It's swatch one.
Ah. Okay. Oh, that's because it's monochrome. It's monochrome. The computer thinks it's black. All right. But if I drop this into an article and everything else in there is red 200, it'll all be red 200. Okay. Now, saving pictures. How am I doing on time? Oh, 4 minutes. Saving pictures for putting in publications. when I'm done with this thing and I've got it adjusted the way I want to use it in my document, I'm going to have to make some changes to it and decide how to save it. I think I'll show you how to get rid of the background. You want to see me get rid of the background? Let's go back in time. Let's go back to color. All right. So I've got this tool over here, and you'll see there are actually two hiding in here. They're both W for wand, magic wand. All right. The magic wand tool will select. You pick a color, and the magic wand will pick all the pixels that are that color or very close to that color. That's the magic wand. So if I wanted to change her dress from purple to green, I could do it, but not in 3 minutes. It would take longer than that. But what I can do is I can use the other tool that's hiding under here, the quick selection tool, and I'm going to make it nice and big so I can grab a lot of the screen at once. All right. I'm going to select all the background stuff here, anything that's not Natasha. Uh-oh. So if I got stuff that's in here that I don't want, whoops, don't go there. I can go in, there's a minus brush up here, and I can put it back. I'm not doing a very good job because I'm rushing. I shouldn't do that. Try to get rid of the building behind her. If I had the time, I would make this smaller and I would get rid of all this stuff. Oops, that didn't work. I made it really big, so. Okay, I need to put her legs back, right? Poor baby lost her legs. In the alternative, you can select the object, the subject, rather than the background. I chose to select the background. It's just, and then you can go over here under Edit and Clear, and it's gone. It's all gone. Now, of course, I would fix it up. I would take my little magnifying glass, and I would zoom in, and I would fix it up. And I'd take my little eraser tool, and I would make a little bitty teeny tiny tool, and I would go in and I would erase all the stuff that doesn't need to be in there. Okay? And then you can save this particular image. And remember how I showed you wrapped it around the dog? You could do that with this too. All of this stuff is very doable. All right. So now we come to the Save As. And all right, I'll tell you what I know. Okay. If you save it as a JPEG, once you start saving things as a JPEG, every time you open them, do something, change something, it's going to degrade. You're going to lose some of the dots. All right? If you want to save it and don't lose anything, save it as a TIFF. If you're going to be using it in a document, save it as a PDF. There are old books where they'll tell you to save it as an EPS. That's the old style, extended postscript. People don't really use that anymore. Nowadays, the PDF is the way to go. Talk to your printer about how to do it. Last demonstration, okay? What do? You want to take a picture of somebody, and you want the world to know that this person is an engineer. Very, very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. Not hard at all. How do you create an engineer? Well, a lanyard, right? Reflective vest, absolutely. Hard hat. Whoa. Some little kid has a little head. And a roll of paper. Ta-da!